Beth, could you just start off by talking about sort of what's the main message you're wanting to communicate both to the public and to lawmakers today?
Sure. There's been an expansion proposed for the state of Michigan and for the Great Lakes Basin on pipeline, and that's what's happening currently. Enbridge is replacing Line 6B, which burst in Marshall 2 years ago, and putting in a much larger pipeline, 3 times the amount of tar sands oil that is currently traveling through the system. And this will obviously bring in more risks for spills, and it'll bring in more risks and pollution from refining. And so we're here today to say that we do not want this company that has been proven to be irresponsible and not learn from their mistakes expanding in our region, and they definitely haven't earned the right to do that.
What's your sense of where the legislature is right now on this matter about whether or not to grant them, the right to build a larger pipeline through the state?
Unfortunately, our state legislature is not involved in this process at all. It is staying at the Michigan Public Service Commission, and so that does not provide opportunity for real public input, and it does not provide opportunity for an environmental impact statement. We wished that the Michigan legislature would become more proactive and more involved in these kind of decisions, but unfortunately our laws keep it at a very low level Michigan Public Service Commission.
But it seems that there hasn't been much media attention given to this. There's been some reporting there was a new report about the oil spill and the lack of response and all those kinds of things, but there hasn't been much attention to the fact that Enbridge wants to build a much larger pipeline through Michigan. Right. Why do you think that is? Because
I think that they're using a very sensitive time to promote the fact that they want to replace this line and make it safer, when in fact they're building a brand new line next to the old line, and there's nothing that says that they can't restart the old line once the new line's in place. In fact, they even talked about that to press a couple weeks ago about not discounting that idea. And so, there's a lot of unknowns about this project. The federal government should be looking at it in a larger scope, and they're not. And so I would encourage the Michigan Public Service Commission to deny or postpone their decision making on this until it's able to be reviewed in its entirety. It's not just the Michigan pipeline, it's a regional pipeline, and it has national impacts.
Assuming that the organization, the state entity that you're talking about, does grant them the right to do this, what other tactics or what other strategy have you all come up with to sort of respond to the fact that if the state says, okay, go ahead, then what else can we do?
We do have some power with landowners that oppose the project or are concerned about their own property. In order for Enbridge to put this pipeline through, they have to take Michiganders' land, and so there's an eminent domain process that we can impose heavily, and then there's some process through wetlands permittings and environmental resource impacts that we can oppose as well.
Okay, great.